Hello and welcome to the Roundtable, focused this time on making metaphors. Very excited about this session today. Very excited to see some old faces. Julie Moffat, it's so great to see you. Many of you are already. Hello, Michael. Good to see you too. Nice to connect with you this morning. Um, and you are ATD Rhode Island? Are you a chapter officer?
Yep, VP of Community Outreach, and as my background says, learning experience design consultant for Citizens Bank based in Rhode Island.
Awesome. That's great. It's good to have you here today.
Thank you.
Um, so today's focus, so for those of you, I know many of you have either been part of the School of Story Design in one of our certification programs, or we've met at a conference. Perhaps you have seen me on LinkedIn. But for however we have met, it's good to see you today. And as you know, I am the author of this book, or as you may not know, Instructional Story Design. Um, so happy that this book continues to be a bestseller for ATD. I'm thrilled by the enthusiasm by instructional designers to humanize their training through story design. So, welcome. Hello, Stacy. That's okay. It's great to see you. So a large part of our session today is going to be discussion. We are going to have a couple of breakout groups. And our focus is to create a metaphor that's good for training, which is really hard. But before we get there, I'd like to just level set and make sure that everybody on the call knows the instructional story design model. So, if you are not familiar with it, it begins with story at the top and action at the bottom. And we're just going to fill in this gap. You know anything from the book, or if you have taken the instructional story design experience course, this is the heart of the book right here. So we want to connect the story for training to the action that we're asking people to take as a result of training. So we don't want a story that's fluff, something that is not going to resonate with the learner. We want something that's really going to facilitate them taking action on our training. So let's fill it in, starting with the elements of a story. So, what are the elements of a story? Stories that you watch, stories that you read, stories that you tell. Anyone? Michelle is on it. So Michelle is just started a cohort yesterday. So Michelle, you're already on it. Yes, relatable characters, compelling conflict for those characters, conflict resolution. Okay, you guys know what a story is. You have been speaking stories your whole life, and that's how we, communicate as humans. So the two elements that must be present for a story in training are, you've already named them, relatable characters and strong conflict. Relatable characters and strong conflict. And why do I use these adjectives? Because the characters in our story, our learners must have some sort of empathy for these characters. They need to say, that character looks a lot like me. I recognize that character. I get that character. And when we have relatable characters, we have this, affinity already with the story. I use the word strong to describe conflict because I want to remind us as designers who tend to like to show the primrose path of how to do things, but it often tends to end up in, doing things in an isolated way in a perfect world where everything goes right. Conflict must be present in a story for training, and it needs to be as strong as possible. All right, we're going to see an example of that today. And when you put characters that you care about in strong conflict, the next part of the model is a desire for resolution. And once that desire for resolution has been sparked, the story for training has done its work. People want these characters to succeed. They want them to get out of their situation. There is a strong desire for resolution. But there's still a gap to connect concretely with the action that we're asking people to take. And of course, that is filled with instruction. Instruction brings the resolution that our learners are looking for. And that's the story design model. Relatable characters, strong conflict equals a desire for resolution, which opens people up for instruction and makes them ready to take action. This is the model. And when we see this model played out, um, it becomes a pretty exciting learning experience. And I want to give you kind of a mini learning experience like that today. And the story I'm going to use is a metaphorical story. So we're going to go through this experience together. I'm going to lead you through, a story design experience. And then I'd like to present a new course to you and have you come up with some metaphorical story ideas in small groups. You cool? Ready? Let's do it. All right. The learning audience for this course that I'm going to demonstrate to you, you should see now, oops, learning audience up at the top. Yes. Okay, good. So this is a description of the learning audience that this metaphor was created for. All right, so these are sales associates for a luxury brand. They are also customer advocates. So they're helping people with their problems, with their purchases, any questions that they have. But then they're also expected to sell, to upsell, to cross-sell. And even though this group has a monetary incentive, they get commissions on whatever they sell, there seems to be a general lack of motivation to truly connect with the client. Conversations have become transactional and they're losing opportunities to upsell or cross-sell. So this is the learning audience. And when I interviewed the stakeholders for this particular group, what stuck out to me was the lack of motivation. And I suspected that they probably had the skills to connect with their clients, but they just weren't doing it. And so I wanted to create an experience for them that would help them get out of their normal day-to-day a little bit and observe a story that was a little bit outside of themselves in a different setting, not the setting that they're normally in on a day-to-day, in their day-to-day. And I wanted to give them a chance to observe this story, critically think about it, and then solve problems based on this metaphorical story. What I was going to train them to do is what I train all of my leaders, sales teams, marketers, um, product teams, clients who want to communicate better through story design. And so that process is very simple. So my action list, the list of actions I want people to perform, is follows this pattern. And I'm not going to go in great detail. This is the high level view of the action list. So I want them to connect with the client, inspire the client, guide the client, and persuade them. So these customer service advocates who are also salespeople, I want them to be able to do these four things as a result of training when they are speaking with their clients. Okay, so can you put yourself in that audience for a moment? Can you just pretend for a moment that you are this customer advocate, you are this salesperson going through this course, and I'm going to guide you through this training experience. And we're going to use a metaphorical story to get started. All right? Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this course on um, story designed communication. I'm excited to take you through today's session. I'm going to share a story with you to get started. And as you are watching this story unfold, I'd like you to just ask yourself, how do I feel during this story? And why do I feel that way? As the story unfolds, you can just be keeping that in your mind. You can even put your observations in the chat as you're watching the story unfold, just to get your thoughts out as you have them. And then at the end, we'll do a debrief, and I'll ask you some questions about this story. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. Okay, let's do it.
Hi, I'm glad you're open. I usually go to Sadie's down the street, but the storm last night knocked out their power. Some storm, huh?
Hi, thanks for coming to the Daily Grind. What can I get started for you?
Oh, yeah, my order. I really had my heart set on a pumpkin spice chai latte. Sadie's puts a little cinnamon on top for me. It's delicious.
I'm sorry, but we don't have a pumpkin spice chai latte.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I didn't bring my glasses. I can't see the menu very well.
Here, you can scan this QR code to see our menu on your phone.
QR code. Oh, one of those things. I'm not very tech savvy. How do I do it?
Just scan it with your camera and tap on the website.
Well, I definitely know how to open the camera. And you said to scan it?
Yep, I'm going to help this next customer. Just let me know when you decide what you want. Hello, sir. Thanks for coming to the Daily Grind. What can I get started for you?
I want a peppermint mocha.
Oh, that's a seasonal drink. We aren't serving that right now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, thanks for coming to the Daily Grind. What can I get started for you?
I have a mobile order.
You can pick that up over there.
Over where?
The counter next to the shelves. Someone down there can help you out.
I can help you with that.
Thank you. That's so nice of you.
No problem. What are you looking for?
Well, I wanted a pumpkin spice chai latte.
Those are good, aren't they?
Yes, I just love them with cinnamon.
They have a good chai here. I'm sure they can sprinkle some cinnamon on top.
That sounds good to me.
Hi, thanks for coming to the Daily Grind. What can I get started for you?
She was here before me.
Oh, have you decided what you wanted?
Yes, Can I have a regular chai latte? And if you could, just sprinkle some cinnamon on top.
There's cinnamon in a shaker right over there. One regular chai latte to go.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you.
Here's your change.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, thanks for coming to the Daily Grind. What can I get started for you?
Just my regular.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you might recognize me. I come in twice a week and get the same thing. I'll have an Americano.
One Americano to go.
No, I'm staying. I usually sit over there.
Okay, great. We'll have that right out.
I'd like a muffin with that, too.
All right, one Americano, and what kind of muffin?
The blueberry muffins are really good. Do you make those yourself?
I believe we do make those ourselves. I think we make all of our baked goods.
Well, they're really good.
One Americano and a blueberry muffin. Cash or card?
Card.
You'll see a question on the screen.
Okay. Let's see what you've got here. Okay, first of all, let's just talk a little bit before we get over to the chat. Stacy, you are cracking me up over here. How did you feel? How did you feel during this story?
I was empathetic to the employee because you know what she wants. And if anybody has an elderly parent, you know exactly what the whole phone situation is about. And so I really empathized with her because I've actually been there before.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're feeling empathy with the employee.
No, with the woman trying to order coffee.
Oh, with the customer.
Right,
Gotcha.
right.
Yes.
And yeah, the employee was very disengaged, almost robotic.
Okay, so you felt like the employee was being robotic, maybe a little transactional. Good. Michael would leave the store right after he got there. Anybody else? How did you feel? Lauren felt annoyed.
Frustrated because she wasn't really listening to anything that the customers were saying.
Frustrated. Yeah. Good. She would be fired.
Yeah, she didn't want to give any more information than she had to.
Yes, that's
She
true.
didn't say to the woman anything about, well, we don't have that, but how about this or anything.
Mhm.
And yeah, she just didn't observe anything around her, obviously.
Yeah,
She
good.
didn't know the guy who came in a couple times a week, and even if she didn't know his name, I don't know. I've worked in several cafes, and you get to know the regulars pretty easily.
Right.
You have to like try not to.
Well, apparently, this particular cashier was trying not to, or barista.
Yes,
Yeah.
she didn't want any extra information in her brain.
For
Um,
me, I actually, although I thought it was terrible customer service and it did upset me, I kind of, someone had mentioned that she probably hasn't been trained, and it's true because even like in where I live in New York City, you can't sit there. There's a line of people. It's very you can't be sitting there while people wax philosophic about their orders. So I kind of get where she's coming from. I just think she could have been trained to approach it in a different way. I don't really know what the answer is, but kind of like, oh, maybe have somebody take over the register while you go and maybe assist the customer with, what her options are, that type of thing.
Good. Spoken like a true designer there, Cheryl, like coming up with solutions now. So since you've started going down that path, what are some things that this cashier might do to make her next customer experience a little better? A little more humanized.
I felt like she understood them personally.
What
I'm
was
sorry, I
that,
didn't
Ruth?
mean to somebody else.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
was
was.
saying, oh, sorry, Kelly. I was just saying that she could respond to each of them personally, even if it's not holding a whole conversation. Just be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that your normal coffee shop is closed. How about we don't have the pumpkin spice, but how about we do a chai for you?" Just being a little bit um, listening to what their actual needs and responding individually can still be quick, but gives each person a feeling like you care more than just Cinnamon's in the corner.
Yes. Very nice, Ruth. Kelly?
My comments were really along the same lines. It would have been so natural for her to say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe their power's out. What do you usually like?" And just make it a similar suggestion. That wouldn't have been hard. And
Yes.
yeah, just would have been a lot easier to watch.
Yes, yes. And Michael pointed that out. The employee didn't sympathize with the potential repeat customer, didn't offer an option to her regular order at the other store. Good.
Yeah,
Rands,
sorry.
sorry,
I'm
go
saying
ahead.
offering options is sales 101. You could say, oh, we unfortunately can't but however, we do have this, that, and the other, and try to upsell her with something, interesting, like this flavor. We have this flavor you might like.
Yes. Nice. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was just going to say, I think, that if she could put herself in the customer's shoes for a moment and, how do you want to be spoken to, or what would, if you came in and, or, nobody knew who you were and you'd been there every day, how does that make you feel, kind of thing? Just, I don't know, reverse, reverse it and put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, yeah. That is a great suggestion. Good. And Kathleen says she could listen. Yeah, listen. Yes, Stacy.
She could also personally connect to the product. In other words, has she tasted them all? What's her favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Could she share? She can also share things too. And it seemed like she wasn't connected
Yeah.
to what she's peddling.
Yes, yes. Very good. Very good. So Julie,
I
engage
also
with.
think, I'm sorry. I also think that it would have cost like really nothing to say like offer her like a safety net. Like if you don't like this, please let me know. I'd be happy to make you something else. And um, I think that could have eased the customer in trying something different than what she normally gets.
Good. Yes. Great suggestions. Today, I'm going to share a model with you that really aligns with what you're saying here. And I'd like to, from this point, okay, so cut. At this point, I would go into taking you through connect, inspire, guide, and persuade. And I think that you can already, just by hearing those four words, see where this is going. You need to connect with the client, inspire the client, guide the client, and persuade the client. And with this short little story already, look at the chat. It's filled with observations, with insights, and you're critically thinking through what just happened in that story. And you're coming up with suggestions for this this barista. You are not a barista. The people in this audience, in this learning audience, were not baristas, right? They were answering phones for a luxury brand company. But what happened next was 6 hours. I kid you not, 2 sessions, 6 hours of conversation centered around this story where they mastered the skills of connecting, inspiring, guiding, and persuading. And this story provided everything that was needed for behavior change. It was a metaphorical story, and this is why this particular metaphorical story worked. because it had strong equivalence in the coffee shop to the story that's happening in real life in the company. So let's identify what those are. When I mean equivalence, I mean that the cashier, I don't know if that's how you spell barista, represents the customer advocate salesperson, right? That's not how you spell barista. It's one R. Who knew? What were some of the other equivalents that you saw? So we can see in this metaphorical story that, okay, I see that the cashier represents, the customer advocate over here in the real world. What other equivalents did you see?
The customer.
The coffee is the product line.
Okay, so the customer in the coffee shop also represents a customer for real life. The coffee, pastries equals product. Thank you for whomever just said that. What else?
The environment mirrors the high-speed environment in any sales field now,
Mhm.
especially with AI.
So maybe in here, it's like busy. Here, it's more high pressure, but there is an equivalent there. Nice.
Lance, they both lack motivation to upsell.
Yes. So not offering an alternative equals, in the real world, not upselling.
Not really thinking about like customer retention.
Yes. Thinking about repeat customers is equal to not, and that was one of the goals of the course that I was teaching, was that repeat customers. Not thinking about customer loyalty.
On that same line, I would say like not really seeing people or seeing the customers as people, but just bodies.
Good. Conducting transactional conversations.
I would also offer the range of customer needs requiring personalization, is equivalent, everybody wants something that's not quite there right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think customer service, just basic customer service training, I think is an equivalent. So you have, basic responses. Like we have our LEAF model at Ground Control. We train everyone on it. And these are your standard responses of how you react to customer needs or demands. And like you would have that. And I would hope in all businesses, you'd have some sort of model that you would follow when it comes to customer service.
Yes, absolutely. So that could be part of then the training that this cashier gets. Yep. Good. Product knowledge, Kathleen says, or lack thereof. Lack of product knowledge or laziness.
I would add hiring the right type of person initially for, them to be good representatives of the coffee shop. I'll
Yes.
start with hiring the right person.
Yeah, so now we're getting into like non-training solutions. If we were HR, we'd be able to have some influence there, but I agree. Okay, good. So there are a lot. So you see a lot already. We've just touched, the surface here, but there are a lot of strong equivalents in the metaphorical story to the real world, and that's what makes this work. That's what makes this metaphor work. So, any observations, anything you're wondering about what we've done so far? I've given you a training experience. Now we're going to transition. I want you to create a metaphor for a particular audience. It's not this one, it's a different one. What kind of questions come to your mind? Or observations or aha moments?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Rance?
I just asked if you were wondering about anything that we've talked about so far, any aha moments, any observations that you'd like to share with the group.
For me, I just think it's very interesting to take, as you're calling it, the metaphor story, which has nothing to do, well, it does have equivalents, as we just pointed out, but it's not the same situation. Like I work with people in the courts, and every time it's like a lot of my feedback is like, well, that scenario or that situation, can you make it more court related? It's always like, so I like this and that you don't always have to use your business's industry to describe something.
I'm glad you brought that up because metaphors really work well when the learner knows nothing about what you are about to train them. If it's a completely foreign concept to them. It also works well when what you are training them on might be sensitive in nature or kind of personal. And this kind of fell into that category a little bit where, how do you help motivate people to like to connect with people? And so giving them something outside of themselves to see things a little more objectively can help build that motivation and also, you know, those skills that they need.
I think picking a scenario that everybody is familiar with, most likely was a good idea.
Right. So that is the whole purpose of a metaphor is to give them something they're familiar with, to explain something they are unfamiliar with. So thanks for pointing that out, Julie. Yep.
I really liked how the example that we used was one that where they could be in the customer's shoes because they have been. Most people have ordered from a coffee shop. And so while they may not have been on the customer end of what they're selling, they've definitely been on the customer end of the story.
Excellent, Leonora. Yeah, I love that. When we can make the situation relatable to the learner, and that also is kind of a requirement, right? You want to make that metaphorical story something that they would be really, really familiar with, not only as the relatable character, the character that represents their role, but also on the receiving end. So, great point. All right, I'm going to give you an assignment now. We're going to go into some breakout groups. I'm going to introduce you to your learning audience and the actions that you are training them to do. And this assignment is coming to you compliments, kind of, of one of my recent certification candidates, Kelly Oliva, who is on the call today. Thank you, Kelly. And she has a learning audience of high schoolers. who might consider budget a dirty word or be overwhelmed by the math or budgeting process. They're not familiar with vocabulary like fixed or variable expense. They may be spending and saving, but not doing so intentionally. Okay, so you can take a screenshot of this if you'd like to have it for your breakout group. This is who you're training. And obviously, you're training them on something about budgeting. And we'll get to that in just a moment. Here's your action list, or a very partial action list. You're going to train them to create a budget based on fixed and variable expenses, set a savings goal and create a savings plan to achieve it, and estimate how much to save for an emergency fund based on the budget. So you can screenshot that. That is what you are training this learning audience to do. Your task, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to create a metaphorical story for this audience that corresponds with what you're training them to do here. Do you have any questions about the assignment? All right, then. I'm going to divide you into groups. Let's take about 12 minutes, come up with some ideas. As you brainstorm a possible metaphorical story, think about those equivalents. You know, who might the high schooler be represented by in the metaphorical story, and so forth. Assign a note taker for your group and put it in Word or something like that where you can easily copy and then paste it into the chat when we get back to the main room. All right? So 12 minutes, and I'll do groups. I'll do about 5 groups. And when you see the prompt on your screen to join that group, just click the button, and we'll see you in 12 minutes.